Okay. Welcome everybody back to our weekly TalkShop Broadcast.
Yeah.
Super excited to be here tonight. We're just hanging out. We got Colton Whited. Dressed as a sailor. You missing the hat tonight, brother? Um, we got yeah, we got Olivia Lee. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere. We're in Oklahoma. Yeah,
Yep.
Tending to some family matters. And we also have Rachel De Silva. Rachel De Silva is our special guest tonight. She's gonna be chilling, hanging out with us. She's a supervising coordinator. Some of you have met Nipuna Pereira, who was here, stepping in for Olivia 2 weeks ago. Rachel and Nipuna built their businesses together, phenomenal couple. And so, we spoke, and Rachel's like, "Hey, if you ever got any openings on TalkShop Broadcast, I'd love to be part of it." I was like, "Rachel, we'd love to have you anytime, because you're out there, yeah, you're out there, you're doing it." So, thanks for joining us. And of course, huge shout out to all our attendees coming in. I see these names week after week. Uh, Colton, you got a sailboat now. Yeah. Our attendees joining in all the way from Singapore, Australia. We got folks from let me see, New Jersey. I'm seeing names from New Jersey. We got Vancouver, Toronto, of course, and Colton. Yeah, I'm sure Olivia, you and Colton also see some familiar faces here week after week. Oh, we got Montreal on, of course, Kansas City, Flushing. Um, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. But we're hanging out with or without you. We hope you can hang out with us one day. So just shoot us a message. We'd love to have you. So yeah, we're talking about getting in the rhythm of the business this week. That's what we're talking. I got my notebook. I got my pen. Speaking of rhythm, you guys seen that new what's that? That new Netflix that new next Netflix series, Rhythm and Flow?
No.
No? Dude, Ti, Cardi B, Chance the Rapper came out with a new show, discovering new talent. And man, it's a short series, but dude, if you got the time sorry.
I gotta add it to the list.
Yeah, dude, if you got the time, man, it gets so much more appreciation for the art. Um, and they go through the same stuff as us. Like, we get to follow the journey of the artist, and go through the rejections, go through the criticism, all in the under the what's that? The notion of chasing your own dream. They do workshop. They work so hard. I mean, it reminds me so much of us and what we're doing. And yeah, dude, if you guys, like, if you got the time, slip it in. It's a great series. But yeah, yeah, Colton, excited, man. Let's kick it off this week. Let's kick it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, well, this is a topic I'm always really interested in because I feel like once you kind of get into a good rhythm in the business, like a lot of other things take care of themselves. If you kind of get out of the rhythm, working
Yeah.
out the same way, if you're kind of in a good rhythm with working out. And so I'm always fascinated because one of our goals with this Talk Shop broadcast is obviously we want this to be valuable for everybody that's watching, but we also want to just let you guys in on what are our conversations like as leaders? Like, what would a conversation with us actually look like? And a topic I'm always fascinated in when I'm talking to other leaders is, what does your rhythm of the business look like? What does your day-to-day look like? Like, how do you operate your business? My parents call it the daily method of operation. What is your daily method of operation? Not just the activities, but how do you put it into your life, especially when you want to flip from like a stable and waiting, because we've all gone stable and waiting. We've all had, like, even, I say some days I thought I was a go now, and I started out my morning and I was a stable and waiting that morning, and that afternoon I turned into a go now, and it's a constantly changing state that you got to get into. So
Dude, that's great. You can do it in the afternoon, man. Like, if I will get a bad day, it's tough. I mean, I have done it before, but it's tough turning it around within the same day. Hats off, man.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like, what does it feel like for you guys when you're in the good rhythm, when you're in the flow, when you got it going on? And has there ever been a window? So it's a two-pronged question. Has there ever been a window where you're like, you're not in it, it's not going, you're not jiving, and then you snap into it? And what kind of caused you to snap into it?
That's a great question.
A cold shower.
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, that's a big piece of advice. Like, don't disregard the small things. Like, I always tell people, I'm like, did you shower today? If you're having a bad day, you're off, like, get in the shower, get cleaned up.
A cold one. Take a super cold one. It resets every time. I don't know if you guys tried it, but it works.
Oh, yeah. You got the Wim Hof.
Sorry, Rachel, I cut you off there.
Well, so that's actually a very great question of how to get into the rhythm. Because it's really apparent, I think all of you guys have felt it before. When you're off, you're off. And you're like, wow, I really got to get back into this. And then you get the opposite, which is you're on and you're on. And everything is in like hyperactive mode. I would say for me, what helps me is listening to a really good podcast. I find just listening from somebody I really admire or just popping in an audio from the UF media, that's been a big wake up for me. And it's nice to be able to connect or really understand when you see like a person just generating crazy income and you hear them going through their low moments. Yeah. I feel like it's really kind of empowering to say, you know what, they go through it too. And just kind of hopping into that momentum and saying, okay, let me just get organized. So actually, Colton, your parents had shared the basic 5 sheet with us here in Toronto about, I think now 2 years ago. And that for me has been super helpful. I have it beside my bed. And I'll just kind of look, right? I'll be like, yeah, it's a great week. And then I'll look at the sheet and go, oh, not such a great week.
It's deceptive. Like they make it seem so simple and so easy. It's deceptive, I'm telling you. It's easy to do, it's easy not to do.
It is.
Sure. Yeah.
You'll see all of the unchecked boxes and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to kind of get into this. But that sheet for me personally has been so helpful, just kind of analyzing my week. And then the opposite spectrum, which is just saying, hey, you know what? I may have felt like I didn't do too well, but I did pretty good. I checked off a lot in these sheets. So I feel like that for me has been 2 very, very helpful things in kind of being very conscious of my week and identifying I need to kind of get into it or congratulate myself more.
That's good.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's perfect.
Yep.
How about for you guys? Olivia, how about for you?
Yeah, well, piggyback on what you said, I think maybe after we all share our methods, it really comes down to very similar few things, right? So, listening to podcasts, listening to audios, and, I do that, and especially targeted on, maybe if I'm finding excuses for myself, then I will listen to a power profile from the convention or from a story that I know who's got way more excuses they could have had, but they turn those excuses into reasons. So I target, I realize, measure, monitor, adjust, right? So you have to realize, be aware of where you're stuck, right? So got to be really straightforward with yourself. And, is it just really being lazy? Am I really just, like a little bit lack of posture today? Like what's really holding me back from getting into that rhythm? And, maybe even just positive affirmations of, remember the moments, what made me have fun. So I think a key thing I say to myself is have fun, right? Have fun, get into the zone of having fun. Then I remember what makes me having fun, having a good conversation with someone, just reaching out to people, sending messages, like just remembering those little things that's not so intimidating, but it's those little things that you're taking the action. It's the effort of taking action that gives me that satisfaction or having fun moment. So then when I think about that, it's like, okay, cancel, not so much intimidation or excuses anymore. But I also do look into my calendar, same thing as the basic 5 sheets, but I evaluate my schedule, right? I've already developed a habit of packing my schedule. So what gets done, right? So when I look into my calendar this week, I'm like, well, I'm really just being lazy because I don't have much on my agenda. I have a lot of blank spaces. So how can we fill those things up, right? So then team, then personal, then growing myself. So then I think it's just like evaluating, like know what's holding you back, right? Listening, and saying, I think repeating, right? Those positive affirmations, and also visual, right?
Right. And, it's tough, especially like you guys who are all in a leadership position, right? And you're supposed to be, what's that? Like spot on. You're supposed to be high all the time. You're supposed to be perfect, but we get it. You get it too. And I find, on top of all of that, you guys said popping in an audio or or just checking your schedule. I find one more thing that helps me the most is give Colton White a call. Always lifts you up. Or one of the guys I call quite frequently, and he's one of those guys that when you call and then he didn't get to picking up your call, he will call you back. He's one of my closest brothers in the business. I've got a lot of close friends in the business. I love everybody, each one to death. But one of them I want to do a huge shout out to is Benson Lee. Jack, like as I knew him from the beginning, he's the guy that doesn't matter what we're going through, doesn't matter what crap we're going through. We'll talk it out. He's like, all right, let's talk it out, man. Let's he'll hear you out, and even if he doesn't have the time, he'll be like, all right, let's set a time. We'll grab a drink. Let's set some goals. So it's always ending the call on a positive note. I think we all got to have somebody like that outside of our immediate leadership group, but we got to have somebody in our junior organization. We got to have somebody in other organizations that we call that lift each other up, not drag each other down. You know what I mean? There's too many of us that have people in other groups that when we call each other the bitch about stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the end of the day, it's the economy, it's business. Like there's always gonna be challenges. So we could complain and we could pour out our problems, but at the end of the day, when we end the phone call, we always have to end it on a positive note, on a high, on all right, where we're going. It brings me back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I call those the go-to people. Like I call up a lot. Like there's several people in my group. I call them up, not even like to do anything productive. I'm just like, tell me the good news. What is the best? Like don't come and talk to me about the complaints, but like, what is the best thing going on in your organization right now? And I hooking your train onto somebody else's energy. I think that's the essential. It kind of pulls you out. It kind of gets you going. Exactly like everybody said, their action creates momentum. When you got that action on your calendar, actually, because a lot of times for me, when I'm having an off day, I feel like I don't have energy to do it. And it's not an energy thing because I got plenty of energy. If I was being chased by a clown, that clown would catch me. So there's plenty of energy. It wasn't actually a lack of energy. It was a lack of willpower, lack of drive and desire. And so coming up with that desire comes from creating action and getting that going and changing your social for sure. So energy, I think that's super important. Like actually creating energy and sometimes even just giving somebody a call and telling them the good news, like sifting through everything good in your life to find the good news. Those people sift through their life to find all the bad stuff, and that's what they bring to the table. I think becoming a professional in this business actually requires you to look through some junk sometimes and find the gold. In the midst of all the coal and everything else, where's the gold, and pull that out and share that with people. But another thing I want to talk about though is actually your actual rhythm to the business. Olivia, you talked about looking at your calendar and seeing blank spots, and that's I think a lot of people play catch up. Like the EVP's on Thursday, they don't think about the EVP until Thursday at 5 o'clock. The EVP starts at 7 o'clock. There's not a preparation for the week ahead of time that allows you to become successful. And a lot of this business is looking at, like we got the Northeast Regional coming up here in a few weeks. That is on my mind all the time. Like regularly, I'm like, how can I get one more person there? How can I get two more people there? How can I add more people to that room? Because there's a huge value in that. And you can't think about it. If you're thinking about it the week of or even the day of, not that you can't get one more person there, but as a professional, you got to think ahead of time and prepare and plan. So specifically, Olivia, I'd love to know, like, what does your rhythm to your week look like? And then even if you want to extend that out to like rhythm of the month or like I feel like when I talk to leaders, there's a gun that goes off. Like I mentioned the Northeast region, you guys were both just like, boom, like big time shaking your head. We're on the same page with that. This is a big event coming up. So what does your rhythm of like a normal week look like that allows you to maintain, but also what's the gun that goes off in your head that's like, all right, go time before an event gets going, and how does that kind of shift into success time for you?
That's a great question. Well, like you said, I think as a leader, we have to be very results driven, but also vision driven, right? So, to get the team to really create momentum, we have to constantly sell that, vision and the targeted goal. So as a Northeast regional, for example, we're so heavily on tickets. So basically the rhythm is created from planning your goals around these events, right? So the regional conference, then tracking back down, and for example, following whether it's a master UFO program or following the regional challenge or the local challenge, those are all the beginning stage of developing into a rhythm. That if you've never had a rhythm before and then you're just creating momentum, I think like challenges is a great way for you to realize what rhythm is suitable for you. So basically coming back to how many people, we always talk about how we set goals. We don't set goals when okay, now the team we have about 10 people, so my goal is to have 12 people in the next 2 months. No, 2 months ahead of time your target goal is 12. By 2 months, then let's break it down. How many people do you have to have? AIS, right? Asking seats. In each local seminars, Andy Webb's favorite, AIS. So then we, okay, great. Tracking back down. And the goal, for example, personally, is one new person that I personally show the plan to, right? Staying that consistency and setting the, leading by example. And with that in mind, the goal is always, for example, 312 on a daily basis. So these are some of the personal measurements for me. And working with people, for example, you can't work with everybody on the same scale, but you can focus on 2 to 4, right? 2 to 4 go now leaders, emerging leaders. And so I think it's, what we do a lot is we do weekly measure monitoring with the local leaders, with the immediate team leaders. And then what we talk about is 3 numbers, right? Ticket number, BV number, and people, right? People number. So these 3 numbers are constantly in our, conversations and communications, because the ticket number is how we set the.
You said ticket number, BV generated, and people. What does people mean? Like how many exposures or people?
People is people who are confirmed to show up at the next major event or the next event or the next.
Y'all track that weekly.
Weekly HBP.
I love it.
Yeah. So we've been talking about these numbers, and it's really been a great way to visualize your goals. I think even for people who might say, oh, I'm brand new, I only have my 2 guests at the next HVP or UBP, but that's okay. Your immediate team who might be above you, across from you, but you get to leverage that environment. So we even track, the cross team that we work so closely with, who's got which guest, and we write down very detailedly people's names. So by tracking those numbers, you're also visualize your organization chart, right? So, that's like, that creates excitement, that creates, larger goals, that stimulates that desire. So, we constantly talk about these numbers, and these numbers will actually be very positively competitive almost. And, when we do each event, we talk about how many people, how many extra tickets you have, who's coming already confirmed, and how many. Okay, so who's going to bring in that extra ticket? Who's going to contribute, towards that team goal? So I think that really helped, I guess, at least for me, to stay very consistent. And also
with your team leaders once a week, and you go over these then with them. Is that like an intentional, like a Zoom type thing, or is that what? How do you do that?
We don't even do a Zoom like everybody together, but each time we meet at HBPs, obviously on a weekly basis, and we always communicate that in our group chat. We communicate our list, we update attendance, we update extra tickets, and So it's constantly from the phone call to the group chats and sometimes face-to-face.
I love it.
Yeah.
So one thing I've noticed for me specifically, this is not changing questions. It's just an additional question back to Olivia on that. Is for me, if I can get the invite done every week to a new person, then that kind of that's like for me when you go bowling and you put the sides up on the bowling to make sure that you're going to knock over some pins. If I get a weekly invite, then I'm obviously going to show up to the plan, and when I show up to the plan, then I'm booking the follow-up. What do you do to kind of create the consistency of your schedules full? Do you guys have a call workshop, or do you get together with that, or is it just expected? Like, how would you create a culture personally to make sure you're getting in front of people every week?
Right. So the goal is obviously to have a personal guest at an HVP. And in order to do that, we have to really be a good ABC pattern. We want to have that one-on-one or two-on-one, right? Scheduled at least 2 to 4 days ahead of time. So then with those goals in mind, do I always meet that weekly exposure? Sometimes I also get cancellations. You always want to over-invite, maybe schedule 2 to 4 appointments. Maybe sometimes you end up showing no zero plan to and a new person. However, I think that's what we're saying about the rhythm, right? It's not about whether that person showed up, or we can't control what they do or what they want at the moment. We can't control their timing, but we sure can control the numbers that we do. So yes, every week our goal is to do a call workshop, an hour prior to our corings, and
when's your coring?
Usually Wednesday night. So we have a Wednesday night, but for New York area, we do Wednesday night. So 7 to 8 p.m. we do a call workshop, and then sometimes if time is really limited because a lot of traffic and people coming off from work, then we do like a Zoom, or Google Hangout, like mute your side, and we do a call workshop, right? So we do that too, and we also do that in a small ABC group training. So if
small ABC group training.
Small ABC group training is more just duplication oriented, right? So especially the first 3 to 6 months of a new unfranchised owners, golden stage, right? They're excited, they want to talk to people, they have a brand new network. So how do we get them to get in the rhythm of doing this business, implementing what they learn, rather than just only learning, or people overlook the learning stage and get directly into action and doing the wrong thing and getting killed, right? So we do a weekly smaller group, usually just ABC pattern, right? So 2 to 3 to 4 people together, but we focus on fundamentals, and we implement ABC corings in the call workshops in those ABC smaller groups. And then from there on, we can invite people to come back. Even within our training, we can still do a 2-on-1 live, right? We can implement that live. So
Wednesday night, coring night for you. Tuesday nights, you guys have your EVPs. Is that once a month EVP basically?
Once a month in Flushing, and then also once a month in New Jersey area that we are pretty actively building. And so EVPs in the East Coast are always once a month. But we also have, for example, Chinese ones that's on the Wednesday. So, but Tuesdays and Thursdays are New Jersey events, and that's one, business building, corings.
Right.
Okay.
I want to add on to that, like you mentioned on the call workshops, it's that doing it on a big scale and doing it on a small scale is completely different, and I like doing ones. I just did one this afternoon with a group that I'm working with, just 4 of us. We hopped on Zoom and we started making calls. We're talking, we're hanging out, we're texting. We got so much work done in that 40 minutes that it's crazy. Got the rest of the week laid out for us, and I think that's something that we need to do more of, or have more people thinking of doing. It's not hard. It's not something you have to meet up to do. It's not official. It doesn't have to be a training. You don't have to be, hey, I picked up the phone, I called somebody, I got a flat out rejection on speaker in front of my guys. Like, that's cool. And hey, it happens all the time. And
got my stack of cards here, man. I just bet these people, they're great prospects, all this stuff, but like, I'm gonna make some of these calls. I guarantee out of this stack, there's gonna be a handful of no's. And so if I can make that, there'll be a handful of yeses, and there'll be 2 to 3 maybe I meet up with. And that's just kind of the process, and that's the lifestyle of building it up. But it's always funny to watch a new person watch somebody like us get a no, and they're like dumbfounded,
I can't do this.
Or no, they're like, oh wow, I could totally do that. Like he lived through it, totally fine. Like it takes some of the edge off. Like, oh, okay, that's great.
I was gonna say, it's like you survived through it. It's amazing.
Yeah, totally. No sweat.
I actually had a follow-up kind of question on that, and primarily because all of you have actually been in the business for quite a while as well. When you have gone through the process of kind of almost exhausting your beginning list is what I call it, the list of all of the new people, you're kind of fresh in the business, and now you're dabbling into connecting with newer people and really creating a new list. I wanted to actually ask you guys, what did you find very helpful in really creating that momentum of a lot of more new names? I'm sure it's obviously connecting with new people, but for you, what have you guys found works very well, so that you're not remessaging all of those individuals you've connected with again and just kind of going through that whole cycle? What has helped for you both, or for you three actually?
Yeah, Rachel knows what I do, but what do you guys? What do you guys do?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people you think of like the original list are your friends and family. Well, most of my family's in the business, has been in the business, or obviously has been pitched the business for sure. Because both sides of my family are all unfranchised owners. So both my mom and dad's side, both. And then from my parents' past lives, from living in Nashville, they'd already talked to a lot of these people, or if it wasn't my friends in high school, it was the friends in high school's parents. They'd already been in the business or heard about the business. So like even like when you're like, oh, my buddies from high school, I'm like, well, most of my buddies in high school, their parents are in the business or have been, or so a lot of my market, I did have to start out with this. I had to start out building. I mean, from day one, Reading was ground zero, obviously, because that was a whole new market. My parents had been on a hiatus.
What do you do in a whole new market?
What's that?
Yeah, so what do you do in a whole new market?
Yeah, you build from scratch. You invite, show the plan, follow up. The same system there. When I moved to Kansas City, that's where I had to really develop the skills you're talking about, because there wasn't a market here. I had to start from scratch. I didn't have a network of people, and it was very awkward originally. I would say probably my first 4, 5, 6 months, I was a weirdo. I was trying to build my network, but I didn't know. I was like, it was so weird. I don't know why I was so weird with it, but I felt like a fish in a bowl, and like I'm surrounded by all these people that are walking by, but I couldn't engage with them, and I didn't know how to do it. I really had to relearn some skills. I was a friend making machine, but for some reason when I moved here, it was like this wall around me, and I didn't know how to get through the wall to talk to people. So I really was thinking through. I'm like, how do I just get in conversations? Because I know if I get in a conversation, it's going to naturally bring up the business. Like JR says, people complain or they wish within 2 minutes. And once they did that, I knew where to take that. If you're on here tonight and you missed that, we have had a prospecting one in the past where we talk about that. But for me, if you're having a hard time, like this literally was from the last week of just people that I've met, like in the last 7, 8 days. It's on my desk. This is the fresh list on my desk. And I obviously have people I've met in the past and people I'm working with, and the original list, and still working through that. But to me, it comes down to complimenting. I became a complimenting machine. Like truly, the way to break through that fishbowl is to engage with the world around you. The best way to engage with the world is to start to compliment people. So I just said, if there's anybody I see, I couldn't come home at night until I gave out 2 compliments. I had to compliment 2 people before I was allowed to come home, and that became my system. I knew if I did 14 compliments per week, that was going to lead into a handful of conversations. And then I just got better at leading those compliments into conversations, being more like, originally my compliments would be like, you're awesome, which isn't going to lead into conversation. So I had to get very specific, and I had to get genuine. So I think compliments, you can't just be throwing out compliments, but specific and genuine compliments about somebody, something they're doing, something that you like, something they wear, something specific that makes them feel good. But that's going to naturally lead into a conversation. You say, yeah, I like your sweater. Well, that's going to be like, oh man, thanks, I got it from the polo. Like it's going to lead into a conversation. And then from there, it's just family, occupation, recreation, money. If you need help on that stuff, but then asking questions, who asks the most questions controls the conversation. And then very naturally, it's just, it's when they're going to ask you at some point, what do you do? If you're meeting somebody, they're going to ask you, what do you do? I found the best line ever from Elizabeth Weber. I wrote it down because I thought it was the gold gem of the Southern District Region rally thing that we did a couple weeks ago. She said, what do you do for a living? She says, I teach people how to make money online. I teach people how to make money online. I was like, that's so simple, so easy. And it naturally leads into the follow-up question, which is the key follow-up question. How do you do that? How does that work? And then from there, you don't answer that question. Be like, we use however you want to do it, but you get the card, you get the follow up. I'd love to talk about that. I'm actually in line at Starbucks. I'm moving forward, but what's your card? I'm actually looking at expanding here in the area. Do you have a card? This person got this card specifically because they wanted to give it away. They spent thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars to give away their information, and it becomes pretty easy. But complimenting was the key for me. That was the building block I was missing. I got in my own world when I got here. I was just so like at the grocery store, coming home, doing, that I was in my own world, and I had to bust out of it by compliments.
Right.
That's
Dude,
great.
I love it. Yeah.
And the big thing, this is the big thing everybody knows here. Any professional knows this. This guy knows 300 people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This guy knows 300 people.
Yeah.
This guy, and if you're looking at the name and number, it doesn't really matter because every guy knows 300 people. And so the real skill is Cecil Kane from Dallas, Texas. Is he going to be able to build a business? It's how can I get to Cecil's top 10 people as fast as I can? If I'm explaining what I'm doing, that's the real skill is, ABC pattern. Can I get to Cecil's people? Because Cecil knows 10 executive coordinators. And one of those 10 executive coordinators knows a future director in my business. So the 300 people, all the 300 people, that's 90,000 people. Those 90,000 on the 300 people, that's 27 million. If you can get to that C level.
Right. I love that, Colton. I'm gonna, I'm gonna say like one of the key things I took away from that is just creating more. Being specific with your compliments, just like country music. Dare to be specific, and that's why you remember them. It's so catchy. That's why people remember you. Another thing that I'm thinking like would really help. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, to all our listeners here, this is not an official training. This is not a Market America sponsored type of training. We just managed to hack into someone's GoToWebinar account and used it. But you know what? I think a big thing that I do, and I should be doing more of this. Got to plan my schedules better for this. Is to create more opportunities for conversation.
Yes.
Yes. You got great personalities like Colton or Elizabeth Weber. You can go out and at the end of 5 minutes, I got the full form on person, and we could connect. But what if you're somebody that's a little bit slower in like myself, just learning to ask questions and still a little bit awkward? I create more opportunities to meet up. Like I might not bring up the business. It might not be as strong or as enticing as Elizabeth. But the other day I was at the liquor store. I was getting a bottle of mixing bourbon, and we tried it out. There's a guy in line, and he was behind me. He was buying the same bottle, and I said, "Hey man, like you live in the area. You really like that bottle. I like it too." And then we got to talking about the liquor, and then it just ended with it was my turn to pay. So it just ended with, "Hey, would really love to continue this conversation. I host happy hours on Wednesdays. I live right down the street. Would it be something? Would you like to join us one of these days?" And yeah, today I booked the appointment. He's coming to my house next Wednesday for me to get forward. So so you get to do what you love.
Is it really a happy hour, Andrew?
Yeah, I did happy hours on Wednesday.
He's like, I'm coming there.
It's happy 3 hours.
So all of us going to Andrew's house on Wednesday at what time?
You sure it's not happy isotonics hour?
No, here's the thing. Here's what I'm thinking. Like, I get, at the very least, I still win. At the very least, I get in a conversation with the guy. Seems like, first of all, I don't start conversations with people that I think are shady or have just bad energy around them. Seems like a great guy, willing to share, willing to talk. He was talking about rum. I was talking about whiskey. I was like, hey, I would love to learn more about rum. got any good suggestions? And we hit it off that way. And when I said hit it off, meaning we had 2 sentences in. That's it. Like we're not best friends yet. I hope to get to know him better. But when we sit down, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the drinks and enjoying the company. At the very least, I'll get to the form. And even if I decide, our relationship's not that tight yet, I might not be able to get him to. He might not be able to evaluate the business just yet, based off of the credibility that I've built. If I haven't built up my relationship with him strong enough, at the very least, I got some samples going out. Hey, my company's doing a doing a survey. Would love for you to try out these vitamins. So
that's so good. I love that. That's so perfect. I think there's like 2 different approaches to people. It's the grenade and the sniper. My dad's much more of a sniper. Like he finds I'm gonna talk to that guy, and like you said, like he does not go with family occupation recreation money and all the different stuff. He gets develops the relationship right away. I would say I have a little bit more grenade. I walk in, I'm like, I'm gonna go through the numbers, let's talk, and it's easier for me. But I love the sniper. I love listening to that because that's exactly what my dad would do. Like you just described, my dad would make a new friend. And from the friendship, he's like, oh man, well, we got this business and it's gonna turn into business eventually. But yeah, right. Sniper, I love it.
Rachel, what do you do? You're killing it. What do you do?
So I would say it's very interesting. I'm a person where if I connect with somebody and I have that connection, that's the easy part. But it's that feeling, and I'm sure we've all had that. You're standing in Starbucks, you look over, you're right about to make that compliment, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do it. This is gonna be weird, and then it either clicks or it doesn't. For me, I found a lot of results in networking events and just positioning myself where we all intentionally are there to network. I found that to be very helpful. And I guess the purpose of the question I was asking was, for us, our team has grown quite a bit. And it's interesting kind of finding the balance of where to position those networking events, so to make sure it's not conflicting with a team appointment or conflicting with a personal appointment. But for me, I think it's primarily what you mentioned, Colton, making sure it sounds very genuine. That for me works very well. Like I really genuinely won't just compliment someone for the sake of it. I really need to find there to be a connection there. Otherwise, I almost feel like they can identify that it's not organic, and then the connection, right?
Yeah. They smell it for sure.
Yeah, and you also kind of come off a little bit weird in the process. It's like, Olivia, I like your hair. She's like, okay, strange, right? How about I like your hair? So I would say for me, it's been a lot of networking events, and the social media has been helpful. I've been doing a lot of going on Instagram and pinpointing photos and kind of sending them a direct message and complimenting the photo. And I find that to be a little bit better just because we are all really glued to our phones. We're in that generation. But I would say those have been mine, kind of being in a position where I'm just intentionally doing it. And I still need to learn how to be in a position where it's just, being more conscious of my surrounding. So in a grocery store, as an example, or wherever I am, just being a little bit more conscious. I think that's something I'm really looking to build more, where it's, may not intentionally be there to network, but it ends up organically happening.
Yeah. I think a key thing for sure is don't go out prospecting. Go out to do something else, and go out with purpose, and go out. Don't go to Kroger just to meet somebody. Go somewhere that you're actually doing something. I love that. That's really good.
For sure.
How about you, Olivia? Do you have anything on that?
I think everyone.
Let me rephrase my question. That was a bad question. Now, do you have anything on that? What do you have to add on that?
Oh my goodness, are you kidding? I loved how everyone's style is so different. But everyone comes back. I think at one point, like Rachel said, we've all gone through that really awkward stage. I still remember just by asking, is this a local or express train? And then not knowing what to say after that to continue the conversation, I turned completely red from head to toe. I was a red, just cooked lobster.
Oh my
They jumped off from the subway. Well, at the station, not jumped off. Then I went to the next cart and I got back on the train just so I can avoid this guy. So, but from those experiences, I think like I love how you said the grenade style or the sniper style. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think all of us have to kind of go through that quantity in order to identify our own style, right?
Right.
So the quantity leads to the quality. So you'd rather go as a grenade everywhere and just, get as many conversations going as possible. Then, but each time I think it's really important to be to listen very well, to train ourselves intentionally how to listen. I think that was one of my biggest breakthrough points. I think I've always been just focusing on obviously asking better questions each time, but listening just really made the whole conversation flow much better. I always preoccupied back in the days, just preoccupied in terms of what I want to invite this guy for. What do I want to meet this guy for? And, it's all in here. So I've been telling myself, empty out Market America, just get to know this person. So that's part of the rhythm. And once you, like, if you really look back, the conversation that made you so enjoyable and you want to talk to more people that day, just sets the right tone. It's not necessarily that you gotta right now, go now, I'm ready to learn about this business. It's just a good conversation. So, I think once we identify the style that works for us and have a good conversation, always intentionally train ourselves how to listen. And then after that conversation, come back and ask myself, what could I ask better questions? Did I really listen to what they said? And if that was good, and then not to penalize ourselves, but just to say, okay, next time I'm gonna, be a little more direct with questions, or maybe next time I'll listen longer before I cut some off. So I think those evaluation process is also very important to just get better in this process.
Olivia, what you just said, it made me think of one of our partners. She's on here, Shirley Coe. She shared with me when she started, she was really shy, but she Ubers everywhere, right? So before she used to sit in the back seat of the Uber. After she started the business and she realized she wanted to expand her network and practice conversing, she now sits in the front every time she takes an Uber. And get this, she turns on her phone and records the conversation. And when she goes back, like she listens to it and she does what you just said. What questions could I be asking better? And I tell you, man, Shirley is amazing at getting. When you meet her, she's there. She's just you don't think she's an outspoken type of person, but man, can she build connections. Like she is wonderful. Appreciate you, Shirley. Yeah, can I show you guys one thing? Because since we're talking about the rhythm and the flow of the business and how our weeks should look like, I think there's a tool that a lot of us are overlooking, not really utilizing enough. But we're doing this, we're hammering this like crazy with the MBBWs. We're doing 12 weeks of follow up. So anyone, Rachel, I know you guys were at the MBBW. For the follow up, every week, everybody needs to submit something. And what that something is right here in our back office. I'll show you the full spill. When you come into your UnFranchise, click on My Organization, Reports, and we usually click on Management, right?
Right.
We want to go down to and click on Weekly Accountability. This thing is sitting there. It is gold. Let me tell you. When the default one is under request, what we want to do is click on Submittal, and here I can put like my leader's email, this will send them the report. It'll show them the week ending. Like let's say this week is ending on November the 8th. I'm scrolling down. They listen to one audio this week. Now, it says one audio because I'm in the habit of listening to one audio over and over again to pick out that same audio, right? Yes or no, and what you learned, and read your goal statement one time each day. I add something to this. I don't put yes unless I made a checklist, like a to-do list for that day as well. If I made a to-do list and I read my goal statement, then I checked off a yes. Called or contacted one personal prospect, added 10 names to your list on a weekly basis. Adding 10 names might seem, challenging at first, but hey, it's not 10 names. It's not 10 people you meet at supermarket. It's it could be somebody that you met in person. It could be somebody that you met online. It could be a conversation that you started. Somebody that you added onto your list that wasn't there, and someone you knew from the past. So it really adds up, and this just helps us track all of it. So I would get I would get everybody, all the leaders at least, to say, hey, this is something really cool we can follow. We'll go through this. It's already in the system. It tracks your left BV, your right BV, how many PCs you registered, new team product sales, and it's got questions and comments at the bottom. Send your report. The people that are holding you accountable, they receive it, and it's a great tool to use, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
I do text messages, so my team takes a picture of their checklist and the checklist, but this is a lot easier to use.
Right.
Right. But anyways, this recently got updated. Just wanted to share this with y'all. Thought it'd be.
Oh, Andrew, you brought up a really important point, and I think for all of our viewers online, definitely to create a rhythm or to maintain the rhythm, you do want to be part of an accountability group, regardless of what shape and form, whether it's one-on-one coaching with your senior leader, or using our tools like this. And if you're into paper, also do the paper form that we've been talking about, the basic checklist. But even for myself, like I always remember what Dennis Franks used to say, that even the most disciplined people have to be in a disciplined environment. Right. So without that accountability type of group, it's just pretty much impossible to always stay consistent, with that rhythm. So I think that's every time our team runs a 90-day fast track or accountability group, it's just more people produce more things. So
yes, ma'am.
I think I've taken more notes from this one than I've ever taken before. This is awesome stuff. My phone's full here.
Yeah. Dude, we've went over the time. Holy crap. Okay. All right. This has been a fun conversation as always. Rachel, you're welcome back here anytime.
Rachel's awesome.
Yeah. And next week, you know what we're talking about? Next week we're talking about business today versus the unfranchised. That's going to be a powerful conversation. It's going to be a really fun topic. We've got not one, maybe two guests that will be joining us next week. Someone who's a real estate, rising star in the real estate world, and becoming a mogul right now. She's making waves and creating like 6 figures on, outside of the business, and also earning heavily in the business. We've got also another person, a national supervising coordinator, also earned 6 figures from the business, and also transitioned to become a serial entrepreneur outside of Market America, and consistently building the unfranchise as well. I love these guys. It's gonna be fun next Tuesday, 9:30. Don't miss it. 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. Don't miss it. And thanks for hanging out, guys. This has been the highlight of the week, as always.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure, you guys.
Yeah.
Rachel.
It was a pleasure. I learned so many golden nuggets. Oh, sorry, Colton. Sorry.
No, I said thank you for popping on. You're amazing.
Oh, honestly, there's a lot of great golden nuggets. I'm going to start implementing it this week, actually. So thank you.
Notes taken?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's kill it.
See you guys.
Good night, everybody.